This is where the fun begins.
I have fought the worst of all wars and witnessed the redemption of evil. I have seen balance restored to the Force. But order can turn to chaos, as it did when I was born. Now, with my loved ones and my loyal allies, I face a new challenge unlike any before. And I'm not sure if this time we can win.
Star Wars Vector Prime by R.A. Salvatore, the first novel of the new Jedi Order.
Are you sure? So be it.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to my channel, our channel, basically, because I do this for you for the sake of keeping George Lucas' era of Star Wars in front of the masses. And we are just growing exceptionally now. And I'm so excited to be here with you on the second day of 2025. Happy New Year's to everyone. If I haven't had a chance to say it to you directly or even on social media, Happy New Year's. And we're kicking off with the first Caf Chat of the year. And I'm so excited about this because we are going into the new Jedi Order. We're going to talk about this. I don't know how many weeks we're going to go into this, but I'm pretty excited about bringing in this part of the timeline, the new Jedi Order era, to you guys, with you guys, talking about the ins and outs of it, you know, behind the scenes too, you know, within directly in the books, you know, and continuity tie-ins from the past and leading into the present of the timeline. I'm super excited. And so if you're catching the replay, let me know you're here and comment down below. You could follow along on the rewatch and share your thoughts with me. I love seeing that. Even if I don't reply, I love seeing the thoughts down there and what you're going to share, that, you know, as if you're here live with me. And of course, hit that like button, everybody. Yeah. And then let everybody know we're live. We are live on Twitter as well. Hello, those who are watching from Twitter, Twitter X, or whatever you want to call it now. Yeah. And to those who are here, thank you so much for sitting with me and chatting Star Wars and going through, you know, Lucas Facts and Book of the Week, which I'm excited about, and Cringe Factor and Star Wars news, if there's anything going on that needs to be addressed, and anything and everything in between, into lore talk, all of that. And I see everybody's hopping on. We have 37 beautiful souls here. Thank you so much. And to all the channel members popping in this morning, well, my morning, some of you guys, it might be the afternoon already or evening, depending on where you're at in the world. You know, thank you for your continued support, subscribers, channel members, what have you. Now, I've been thinking, because we're in the new year, and I do, you know, of course, have channel members, and I haven't done anything specific with you guys, for you guys, in a very long time. And I know I promised the second part of Clone Wars 03 by Tartakovsky and crew. And I do want to have that follow-up, but The equipment that I got to play, I'm gonna try it again because it could have been just updates on my laptop and stuff. But the drive that I got to play, the CD DVD drive, wasn't working, and so couldn't follow through with that just yet. And then, of course, on YouTube, they took down volume 2 of the Clone Wars 03. But I also want to begin member chat, member only live. So we're growing. So if you haven't became a member, the more members, the greater it's going to be, the more experience, the more fun we're going to have. So if you haven't became a member yet, do so. I think it's going to be worth your time. It's worth my time. And then I'm trying to find a way to award members with like postcards of my art, my Star Wars arts, and sending that out to you guys. So I'm trying to find a way to do that because that gets a little bit more personal in getting addresses and stuff like that. So just ideas I've been playing with for the last couple of months to hype up the membership and stuff like that. And yeah. And then, you know, I'm still hyped up from yesterday and the day before. I went to the New Year's Eve powwow, and I took consolation prize for the old style jingle contest. There was didn't place the overall winner, but that's okay because old style, I don't dance old style, so that was an honor to me. I know you guys are like, what the hell are you talking about? Old style? What? Old style jingle? What? I dance contemporary. Old style is more of a the movement is less dramatic and less energetic, I guess you could say. Well, it's still energetic. But contemporary, you hold a fan, you wear plumes, all this, and you do fan work and fancier footwork and all this other stuff. That's my jam. And so I was happy to get consolation prize. And then on top of that, I was in a tiebreaker for women's jingle, my category. They don't really announce like what the tiebreaker is, first, second, or third. It's just that you go in and you dance your ultimate best, because if it's for first, you want to be able to reign in that. But if it's for third, you don't want to be bucked out and not win, you know? So, and it was for second, and I won that tiebreaker. So I'm coming home. I came home with almost a half a grand. So I'm pretty excited about that. So you have this, and since last night when I was on Grizz channel for Shill Awards, I presented award. I was friggin' pumped, and then I was also a little bit hyper from drinking espressos and stuff most of the day. But with that being said, today I'm so happy to be here with you guys and doing the very first Caf Chat of the year. I'm gonna read the chats in a few minutes, but today, of course, it's still the same fun Caf Chat. We're gonna go with Lucas Facts. We're gonna, you know, chat with each other. We are gonna go over Book of the Week and talk about the significance of that. We are going to, you know, again, lore talk, and lore talk is, I don't have any special PowerPoint. I want to begin our talk about New Jedi Order with just a basic, like, who's the authors, how did Luke get to this point in time, like all of everything that led up to the New Jedi Order. I think that's a great way to talk about this. And then of course cringe factor, all of everything's like tying. I didn't do this on purpose. Like the synergy of this is not on purpose, but the cringe factor kind of ties in a little bit to everything we're talking here in a way. So let me see here. That is our lineup. Let's see here who's coming in. And of course, the very first person to come in and wait is Melissa Lord, and she's a channel member. Hi, Laura, and hello to you. Happy New Year. Good morning from Jim the Despot. Good morning and Happy New Year to everyone, and thank you. And Mike Casillas, Happy New Year. The backseater, let's plays and commentary. Hail OG. How are you doing? And of course, I'm not meaning to not announce this because it's something very new. I am part of the Gatekeepers Alliance. We are putting together a brand new channel. and that's going to be very fun. I'm going to do a parody back and forth of me being the ultimate or the elite EU, and it's going to be conversation with a anti-EU person. So I'm going to be doing those little tiny skits and stuff like that for that channel. I'm pretty excited about that. So stay tuned for that. And I might share, I probably will share shorts here as well, and share them here on my channel. So that should be fun. Me being the EU fan versus the anti-EU fan. That's going to be fun. All right, on AA, I'm sorry. Happy New Year. And let's see, Jag. Hey, what's up? Good morning. I'm year lagged. That's okay. And then Conrado. I always do that, Coronado. That's never going to change. And hell, I'm almost friggin' done with my coffee. I'm going to have to do a rhino and put something on that's kind of long and like play a video or something and go fix a new cup of coffee. That they already have the wolf pirate. Why do they have a sexualized Neil and the out? You know what? I have no idea what's going on with that show. So I can't say anything, and I haven't really been paying attention to any reviews and stuff like that. So I can't really comment on that. Jim says, Happy New Year. And if you're my older brother, happy birthday. Oh, nice. So happy birthday to your older brother. Andrew is here. Like and subscribe. Thank you so much. In the Philippines, Christmas ends in the first week of 2025. Yeah, there's other countries have their ways to lead up to that type of thing, and that's pretty cool. The Odie Astartes. I'm so sorry. I butchered that. Watched two great things today. Mr. Grizzy's Shills Awards, which had some great hosts. The J.I. Cup part had me in stitches. The Sonic and Sonic, and I'm not even a Sonic fan. Well, I'm glad you got to watch the Shill Awards. That was quite fun. I was on camera for that, and so I was still kind of made up from the powwow. So you got to see the authentic OG Star Wars. Happy New Year to all. Yes. And says I need to get the DVDs of the micro series. Yes, do it. And hopefully Soul Assassin's here with us now. I'm still scrolling down, so I don't see him, but I will ask him to pull up sources to get those DVDs. I wish Lucasfilm ignores the Clone Wars eras after Revenge of the Sith and move on with the Underworld. With the Underworld show. What are you talking about? They're not doing the Underworld show. Okay, so why did it just freeze up on me? There we go. Hello, Diddley Squat. Happy New Year to you. And Jim says, we're talking about powwow dancing, aren't you? Yeah, I was talking about powwow dancing earlier. You guys are thinking, what? Jingle dance? Where did we get jingle dance in Star Wars? What the hell are you talking about, you crazy woman? Yeah, let's see here. And Scran is here. Hello, everyone. How are you doing, Scran? Happy New Year. Jack says they had an unnamed project 5 years ago by a director that had only done low-budget inner city strife flicks. No idea what they wanted from him for. Spice Runners of Section 1313. Don't you? Congratulations, then. Thank you so much. And says, long live the king. Oh, okay. I don't. Okay, and Kronos, Merry New Year. Nice. Merry New Year to you. The Gatekeepers Alliance. Woo! And I meant to grab the video so I can play it on here to advertise, and I forgot to do that because I was so hyped last night after my winning and being on Shill Awards, presenting awards. And then finally I sat down and, after all that adrenaline and excitement and stuff, boy, did I just crash. I meant to finish the latest new Jedi Order book that I am on still, Hero's Trial, and I crashed. So I meant to do that last night, record so I could play it here. And I crashed. I was gonna finish that, reading that, and do that. I should have did that first and then started reading. So, but Gatekeepers Alliance coming on January 10th. So coming soon, you guys. Stay tuned. I think I should know this, but I think it's gonna be on Grizzy's channel, or was it? Well, anyways, it's coming up. Stay tuned. I think I still have a chance to advertise it here again, the full video. Yes, I do. So on the 9th, stay tuned for our video. And it's going to be on the 10th. It's a Friday. So United Spacers, the Spacers will happen earlier than that on the 10th. It's once a month. We're going to get it kickstarted. We're having different segments of the show. All of that. It's going to be a fun time. It's a huge collaboration, and I'm so excited to be a part of this. All of us are contributing to what our uniqueness is in, under George Lucas era of Star Wars and stuff. And so mine, and it's going to be fun. And then, of course, I'm going to talk about those idiots that, I have run-ins on Twitter with and stuff like that. So stay tuned for that as well. All right, let's see here. Logan's legacy. Okay. New Jedi Order is bad. They killed Chewbacca. I prefer the sequel trilogy. It's peak Star Wars. What the hell? All right. Well, you you like what you like. Oh my God. All right. Philippines celebrates Christmas for particularly 3 months. You know what? Because I have Filipino, I'm Ilocano. So I'm not Tagalog, I'm Ilocano on my grandpa's side, my paternal side. And we celebrate. We celebrate all kinds of crap. We like to celebrate long and hard sometimes. Sounds Greek. Logan, behave yourself. Yeah, exactly. Shill alert. Ooh, shill alert. I don't have a shill alert thing, but hey, let me see. Let me pull up something here. I have clips, but I hardly use them. So let's use this.
You rebel scum.
He's not a rebel, but he is a scum. So, but let me see here. I have to find something because I don't have a proper clip for that. All right. Let's see here. What are socks? I don't know. You tell me. I like fuzzy socks. Happy New Year's to you and chat. Thank you, Diddley Squat, and Happy New Year's. Let's see here. Okay. Hey, OT. Let's see here. And I know it's fine. He can say what he wants. Doesn't hurt me. Doesn't hurt the channel. You did great in your role last night on Shill Awards. You looked awesome too. Yeah, like I said, I was like coming in. It was fun. Felt very natural to help doing that. Happy to be a part of that as well. Let's see here. I know that's fine because we are linked to Twitter, so we're live on Twitter as well. So, and they will come back and forth, and that's fine. That's okay. He can come in and squawk all he wants. Doesn't mean that it's going to change my direction. He could just be triggered all he wants in the chats, right? So shill trigger time. Shill trigger time, Oh, well. Let's see. Odie says, Odie, I read that one already. And let's see here. Correction, sequel fan, just sequels. He is a Disney Star Wars fan, and that is a very low bar. So it's like it's so low it is buried in the muck and shit. So enjoy your muck and shit waddling around in that. New Jedi Order are the sequels. And D Nice Gamer, hello, Happy New Year to you. So we are 9:25 a.m. So let's go ahead and get into our Lucas facts here. So Lucas facts. Oh, I'm still getting used to how they separated these buttons on here with the style and the media assets. So here we go, Lucas facts.
That's great.
It's going to be great.
That's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
That's going to be great.
Great. And yes, it is. So this is what I have for Lucas Fact here today. So summer of 1979, and this is the online making of Star Wars. And I forgot to cite the source on the bottom. And this is summer of 1979. This is for Empire Strikes Back. So I figured, some of these Lucas Facts doesn't have to necessarily be certain things that go into the EU, which is fun to share. It's also about the movies and all this stuff. The summer of issue of the Bantha Tracks gives readers a short backstory on the character of Boba Fett. Quote, not much is known about Boba Fett. He wears part of the uniform of the Imperial Shock Troopers, warriors from the old time. Shock Troopers came from the far side of the galaxy, and there aren't many of them left. They were wiped out by the Jedi Knights during the Clone Wars, quote, end quote. So this goes into basically the creation of the Mandalorians. So this right here, this piece in 1979, before when they were started putting together and tying together everything for Empire Strikes Back and the characters within that, they discussed about Boba Fett, possibility of where he comes from. So the shock troopers are these type of troopers basically end up making the Mandalorian culture as we know it here today under George Lucas era of Star Wars. So if you go back and you research all of this, it leads to this. And it still rings true that these Mandalorians are basically of a warrior culture that were fighters, martyrs, I guess you could say, all of that. And so it's interesting to tie everything back to the original intentions, including about them fighting with the Jedi Knights. Not necessarily during the Clone Wars, but I guess you could say in a sense. So it's interesting to see the evolution of the lore and how it has been tied up in the long run. So there you have it. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat about that. I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom. I know I was reading. Let's see here. Good morning at the Fracture Filter. Cool. Hello, Fracture Filter. How are you doing? And let's see here. This is the way. Well, that I don't like that saying because it is not true Mandalorians. It's the Disney lore Mandalorians, the faux lore. So no, it's not the way. Let's see here. Now that's hilarious. Dances with Banthas. Let's see here. And that's hilarious. Oh my God. I hate when it skips on me like that. Good morning. Oh, I read that one. Duh, Laura. Good morning at Star Wars Grand. Oh, I love how you guys are just. Shh. This is the way is Darmanda, correct? What is real? Did everything that happened before Disney Star Wars. They never use that kind of quote in Mandalorian culture. This is the way. Kyle Katarn is a bad character. Oh my God, you poor soul. He's just over here just triggered so much that he has to spew out nonsense. The last of the Mandoed. Yeah, I agree. Mandoad. Ugh. Even though you tried to derail the show simply with your presence. I know that was funny. I was home, so I finally got to physically watch and not listen in on the Shill Awards. And when Fractured Filter was on, it was like he fractured the Shill Awards in a sense. That was funny. I was like, of course, was going really well, and of course, I'm happy it didn't happen with me, but it was quite you did well, Fractured. We're just joking with you, but yeah, shit happens on any type of show. So there you go. All right, let's see here. I did. It was hilarious. Yeah. Hell yeah. Let's see here. Cancel Disney Plus. This is the way. Need the Qui-Gon clip saying don't do that again for shills. Yeah, I do. I need to make some new or the ability to speak doesn't, that one where he says that your intelligence isn't based upon your ability to speak. You're probably very new to Star Wars and stuff, and that's fine. You're here with us. You'll catch up. That's all right. All right. So with that, everything is going to be today like about the new Jedi Order and of course about cloning. So this is very fascinating. And it's kind of fascinating that, like I said, I didn't plan this. It's not a synergy thing where I planned everything out in a sense for it to all just, tie together. Because sometimes I'll share a Lucas quote or a Lucas fact that has nothing to do with what we're talking about on the show, but I wanted to share. Sometimes it ties in with what I'm talking about the show or with the book of the week and stuff. And sometimes it doesn't. I like to stay random. I like to share some things that are random to make us have something different to talk about. But with that being said, who is your favorite Mandalorian? Do you have a favorite clone within the George Lucas era of Star Wars? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat. Let's see here. Whoops, wrong one. Styles, nope. Media assets. I have to remember media assets to turn that on and off. All right. So do you mean fake news, Kyle Katarn? He's a wannabe fan and only likes Disney Star Wars. Yes, I do like other sci-fi shows. So I grew up in a family that loves sci-fi shows. They got me into Star Wars. They liked Star Trek. We watched X-Files. I mean, there's a lot of things that, my family liked sci-fi, some fantasy and stuff like that. And what's funny is my family mostly consists of women, and we were all into that. So yeah. So with that being said, who is your favorite Mandalorian? And it can go into the clones because we know that Scarada is the one who adopted, who was the first trainer of the Knolls and adopted a lot of them into the culture. They, of course, when they got their training from Mandalorians. And so a lot of them had learned about Mandalorian culture. And so when the Empire rose, there was quite a few clones that basically fled in exile, I guess you could say, to Mandalore and was hidden and became a part of the bigger culture and stuff like that. So I would like to know. Favorite Mandalorian, Canderous Ord. There you go. Favorite clone, Darmon. Okay. Star Wars Grand says Rogue One went to hyperspace from atmosphere and had Vader chasing the rebels for the copy of the Death Star plans. Lore breaking garbage. Correct. I like Battlestar Galactics. That's cool. Okay, Kronos. Car is my favorite clone. Okay, cool. Going back to all of this and thinking back, with George Lucas era, and you really have to get into the EU to really get to know some of these clones and even the Mandalorian culture. So that's a lot of Soul Assassin's here. He's damn power outages. I was wondering what happened to you. Oh my God. I don't care if I'm going to get a strike on this. I'm going to play this because it's the new year. It's the new year and I need to do something fun. So let's see here.
All right, this is going out to all the homies. Yeah. This is for the raza. Yeah.
You trying to get crazy with this thing? Don't you know I'm loco?
I love that. That goes out to my mod, Soul Assassin, and to everybody here. Happy New Year. So I'm loco. Yes. Oh my goodness. So hell yeah. So going back to what I was saying. So a lot of the Star Wars lore, historical timelines happen in the EU, right? So we have the movies, which are the foundation. We know that already, the foundation. But everything, the meat and potatoes, I like to say that quote. I noticed that. The meat and potatoes, everything, all that is in the EU. Everything. That's why they called it the expanded universe, because they're expanding the universe from the foundation of the movies. So we have beautiful cultures and species that are shown more of. We have other characters, especially movie characters, that were expanded on, like Wedge Antilles. And we get more of his backstory, everything there. We get more of his continued story. And, and we get to see that in New Jedi Order, you guys. We get to see the evolution of everybody that we see from the OT in New Jedi Order facing a new villain. And it's so fucking excited to talk about, And then, of course, we get planets. We get, there's so much, like Mandalorians, like I said. So that's why I was asking you guys, who is your favorite Mandalorian and clone? And of course, this goes into EU knowledge. So for those who are just barely getting to the EU and don't know much, that is okay. But those who are new here, and I have 60 beautiful souls watching, thank you so much for joining us for the very first Caf Chat of the year. It's okay, and you're here to learn. You're here to learn and get into the George Lucas era of Star Wars. That's what this is about. And it looks like I have a super chat and I have more people popping in. So let's go ahead and highlight this. Abu Nas for $10. Don't mind me. I finally got a chance to hang out with the cool kids. It's good to see you back in the chat. I'm still working. I don't know how long I'll be here, but glad to be here. And yes, you're local. Yes, I am. And people know that from last night for the Shill Awards, because there's something crazy that I said in there that kind of broke the so-called chat that night, last night. So I'm not going to repeat anything here, but I thought it was quite funny. And I'm very honest and unfiltered. Yes, I'm a lady. I have manners, but you know what? It's boring sometimes. Be real, people. Be real. I'm local. Yes. And then see here. So many cool clones in the EU. Love the Phase 2 armor. Hold on. Let me get my Wikipedia up. Star Wars theory. Yeah, I know, right? I mean, when you know someone who is well versed in the lore, when they don't have to go yeah, I guess, and they fumble with their words and stuff like that, and they can't keep up on the conversation. So and those are people who don't know the lore. Those who know the lore and stuff, can keep a very energetic conversation, and then even admit, hell, I didn't know this part, but this part was amazing. So you have someone who knows this is versus person who is well versed in the lore and admits to parts that don't know what they don't know. Like I always say, my weakness has been the Old Republic. I know the standard stories and stuff, but I can't really get into depth in some conversations about it. And that's my weakness, and that's okay. It's just a learning opportunity. Oh shit, there's more shit going on in here. I see shit going down with member gifts. All right. And someone becoming a member. Amazing. Thank you so much. Oh my God. Thank you. I totally appreciate you guys. You guys are fucking amazing. And then you have the one that pretends, the pretender who is umming and hee-hawing and just agreeing, but cannot expand on the conversation whatsoever. Let's see here. I don't know what y'all mean. I'm saying in the world going crazy. But what is being saying? And of course, another mod. What's my favorite Mandos are Cal Scarata and Wallen Va. And favorite clone is Fordo. There you go. Not a lot of people pay homage to Fordo. He's amazing in Clone Wars 03. Very, very. So I'm going to get into these. I'm going to scroll all the way down. I know you guys are chatting here. And I love to have this conversation with you. Fractured Filter, gifted 5 OG Star Wars memberships. Thank you so much for this beautiful gift to everybody else starting out the new year with new members. Thank you so much. I haven't really had a chance to learn how to check who received them, but whoever received them, thank you so much for gifting them the Fractured Filter, and he's became a YouTube channel member. Thank you so much. That is friggin' amazing. What did you say? Go back and watch the Shill Awards where I present the worst defense of Disney Star Wars. It's funny, you guys. You could say OG got all the men's attention with her comment last night. Oh yeah, I sure did. They're like, what? Where are you at a new Jedi or reread a lore? Almost done with Agents of Chaos. You passed me up. I'm finishing up Hero's Trial on that, the first book. So there we go. All right, so let's get into the book of the week. And then I'm going to have to make a new cup of coffee because I don't have water with me and I'm going to have to keep my throat ample. I'm not going to say anything else with that. So let's see here. Where is the clip I need? You think I would know where everything is at? Here we go. Book of the week.
I hate to say it, but it looks like the item you're searching for doesn't exist.
Impossible. Perhaps the archives are incomplete.
If an item does not appear in our records, it does not exist.
And whoops, wrong one. Wrong click. Here we go. The book of the week is Return of the Jedi, the movie novel, because yes, it's still a part of the EU and the movie. So it goes it's one of those cross-referencing type of books. And it's also the movie book. And there's a lot going on here because there's different versions. And I was like, how am I going to present this? Which book cover am I going to present? And I almost thought about putting them all on here, but that's a lot. So the author is James Caan for the adult novel and Ryder Wyndham for the junior novel. Based on the screenplay by Lawrence Kasdan and George Lucas and story by George Lucas. So, and the cover artist is, depending on the book, is Kazuhiko Sano for the classic Return of the Jedi, Drew Struzan for the 1999 one, Lucasfilm Limited first edition Ballantine novel, and so I have an error there. I have to go back and correct, but and then Return of the Jedi 1995, 1997, 2004, and Scholastic novel for the Scholastic novel. So again, there's different covers. There's paperback versions of some of them and hardcovers. And so we're going to get into that. That's why there's multiple dates. Paperback, May 1983. And I didn't specifically name which one is which. These are just versions of each and it could have a different cover, but I'm just going to name the dates of these paperbacks, and that's it. Because, like, again, there's a lot going on with this. Paperback, May 1983, October 1994, and 2004, January 1997, and August 1999. So those are the different versions of paperbacks that are out there. Hardcover, May 1989, September 1995, and June 2002. And I think I missed one or two, so I apologize for that. And the continuity note. So many of you guys know that, maybe many of you guys know that this book was based upon the third screenplay of the film. So not the last and final screenplay, the third screenplay. And so that's why it describes an infant Luke being taken by Obi-Wan to his brother Owen Lars. So that's why that's in there. And it's not in the movie, or it's not in the final screenplay. And then Attack of the Clone changes that. So the Attack of the Clones. Yeah. No. Oh yeah, Attack of the Clone changes the I'm thinking of Revenge of the Sith, but the Attack of the Clone changes who Owen Lars is. And then Revenge of the Sith really doesn't change anything because it still stays true with where Luke goes to. It just, the relationship between Obi-Wan and Owens is completely changed. And rightfully so. In 1999, Jedi Apprentice, the hiding the hidden past, brings it up as well. So you have that as well. So you have authors that were pertaining to the book, but not the movie. So there's that little bit of continuity notes and errors there. And also Leia's memory of her mother is another directional change by Lucas. And the Ewok show changed the description of the planet Endor's orbit. The planet Endor orbits from a dead planet to a gas giant. So there you go. So there's a bit of continuity notes there. Continuity notes is not going to always be about how well it's synchronized and used to tie things up. It also will give continuity errors. And so this one is based upon Khan using the third screenplay of the film and not the final, because this book, like all Star Wars books, came out before the movies. So let me see what you guys have to say here. Fordo is GOAT. Yes. I use Wikipedia from time to time, mostly as picture book for stuff like what Tora Vizsla's personal ship. Don't know the make or model, so I had to come up with my own lore for it. Yeah, there's still things that you can pull up, but Wikipedia is not reliable anymore. There's a lot of things that they change just because they feel it's their opinion or what have you, or that they're going into bad faith about that. And Lucasfilm today has a lot of bad faith changes as well. Well, I'm Sith, so I am prideful. I'm just not fake. Let me see here. No purist. I know you are a Jedi at heart. Let's see here. Catch the Shill Awards. All right. So with that being said, I was like I said, I wasn't trying to sync in the topics, everything together. That was not my intention. There was no synergetic thing going on here. But I did want to talk about what got Luke from where he was from the ending of Return of the Jedi to how we see him in New Jedi Order. And so we're going to talk about that. But I do seriously need to get some more liquids. So I'm going to go pour me some coffee, get that ready. So let's play this. Our buddy, the man who started it all for us, or kept us going, started it all, like, you know, with the leading against Disney, Star Wars, and the stance on the EU, Mr. Matt Wilkham himself. So I'm going to play his video here while I grab some more coffee, and then we'll get into New Jedi Order talk.
Someone asked me to give the best reason why someone should read the Expanded Universe. After giving it a lot of thought, here's what I have to say. The Expanded Universe respects the reader. In the Expanded Universe, Luke Skywalker's optimism continues where it left off in Return of the Jedi. He's fulfilled hope to the galaxy, just like Obi-Wan said he would, not like the Disney movies where he gave up on the Jedi or even the whole galaxy for that matter. The character you see in those movies is not Luke. Luke isn't a quitter. He's not a pessimist. He's a leader. He's inspirational. And he's always there for his friends in times of need. Another character is Han Solo. He's introduced to us in A New Hope as a loner, a man who cares only for himself and nobody else. But by the end of Return of the Jedi, that all turns around when he finally finds friends he can trust and a true love to spend the rest of his life with. And that's exactly what he does in the expanded universe. Han is a devoted husband and father to Leia and their kids. He loves his family above all else. In the new movies, Han turns out to be a selfish deadbeat dad who ran out on his family when things get tough. It's a complete 180 from the character that we saw from Return of the Jedi. Now, another thing the EU does is it rewards its readers. Attention to detail when it comes to continuity has never been done at such a level as when it was performed by the expanded universe. Avid readers will constantly be rewarded for their diligence as comics, novels, video games, and even children's books share connections throughout the entire series, making it almost a flawless, continuous story. And though it has its minor flaws, it's still the best overall story and continuity out there, period. That's what the EU does. It respects and rewards its readers. And that's the best reason you should give it a try. Long live the expanded universe.
Long live the expanded universe 2025. Still talking about it strong here on the channels and social media. It is the true original canon, the only canon to the movies. Everything else created after George Lucas era is just in name only. So with that being said, we're going to get into talking about New Jedi Order leading up to it. Something I wanted to do, but this last couple of weeks before we got to this day, and shit happens and it didn't happen. So that's all I got to say about that. Life happens and we just shift and go with what we need to. And it was still magnificent, leading up to this point here. And to Matt Wilkins, if you are listening, Happy New Year's, my friend. And thank you for being a good friend and fellow EU elitist and also leading the way for us. So you're amazing and thank you so much. All right. So what did you guys think about Luke Skywalker at the end of Return of the Jedi? Were you curious? Like for me, I'm sharing my age. I'm an OT. I want to say generation, but because I don't believe there's generation stuff here because the movies happen the way they did, but it doesn't mean that they're meant for the generations that they're created for. They are timeless, is what I'm saying. They are timeless. So the PT is timeless, the OT is timeless, the EU is timeless in itself as well. And so I was born around the OT time. And so seeing Return of the Jedi and knowing that that was the end for the movies, I wanted to know like the visuals of Star Wars, because games can be considered visuals too, because we have a glimpse, but then we get to create our own story depending on the game, or our own version of it. I wanted to know what happened with Luke. Did he keep his promise to Yoda, like he said, with George's intentions and stuff? And what happened with Leia and Han? Did they actually end up being together and all this, So I was very curious. That's what got me into the EU. Let's see here. OG's an OT kid. Well, I'm a PT kid. PT generation. What up? Yes, what up, you guys? Wedgens. I'm an OG Wedgens fan. Yes, you are, Star Wars Marvel purist. I'm so proud of you. And Gen X baby. Okay. All right. So we have the Trusat Bakura. And this one goes out to Scran. So he said on his thing about when he talked about, basically Thrawn trilogy, The Last Command. He was like, there are some of you guys, some fans that are say that the Thrawn trilogy is overrated. And I was like, oh shit, he's talking about me. He's calling me out. But you guys know what I think about that. And my beginning point, basically, I read, I'm like this, I'm this organized person. I'm just this kind of person. And of course I followed up with the EU, but my first really big read was Trusat Bakura. Trusat Bakura. But he's laughing. Yes, I was referencing Alora. I know you were. I felt that, my friend. I felt that. But anyways, Trusat Bakura happens just hours after Endor battle. And I thought it was amazing for that. It had great story. It had great new villains in a sense, because they weren't exactly the Imperial remnant or the beginning of them, the formation of them, or what was left of them. And they were a problem. They were a hazard, right? So you have that, but then you also have what really opened and expanded the expanded universe to how we have it today, like under George Lucas, not under Disney Star Wars. And that is Timothy Zahn's The Thrawn trilogy. And I love it. I love it. I just think it's overrated, but I still love it. I still go back to it. I still read it. I still reference it, but I give credit where credit is due. And the hit from the trilogy and the response from the fans, they're like, they were still tying up the EU even before then. They were still keeping everything in mind and wanting a continuity, like a established continuity for their historical timeline. But the Thrawn trilogy, it used to be called the Empire trilogy. Yeah. Is the thing that really solidified everything going forward because of the response of the trilogy by the fans. And that was a beautiful thing. And we had somewhat of a new threat, but it's still the Imperial remnant. They tied through really well. Where it's like, well, where was he during the movies then? You know, they had to consider that, especially during the OT, right? So they had a great backstory for that, considering how the Emperor was xenophobic. And he only used certain species to his benefit. We knew that. But Thrawn really earned his place. He earned his place to Grand Admiral. And there was a huge cover-up to why he went into the unknown regions. It wasn't how some of the imps thought. They thought he was getting punished, really. It wasn't that. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So very good story leading up into, Thrawn story is very good leading up into the Thrawn trilogy. It made sense to why he wasn't there during the OT time. And then it made sense to why he reappeared after. So very good stuff. Very good continuity going on. You have to plan accordingly to with Ahsoka, that was like George wanted her gone before Revenge of the Sith for a reason, because people are going to ask, well, where was she during Revenge of the Sith? Why wasn't she referred to as one of the people for the reasons why Anakin fell? Right? So, but Filoni wanted her alive, and he kept her alive, which hurt the story overall. It even hurt the intentions to what George wanted, even though there's a lot of us that was like, George, what the fuck are you doing giving Anakin an apprentice? You're Anakin's not even in the right mindset for even being responsible for another human. Or I wouldn't even say human, for another being. And so that compared Thrawn to Ahsoka on the planning, Thrawn was really well planned out. So you have, you know, a person with a big ego about their character versus a person who worked alongside Lucasfilm and listened to instructions and created a well fleshed out character that made sense to the OT, to why he wasn't there. And yeah, George Lucas, where was she during the original trilogy? Yeah, and that's Disney's fault. And I'm not going to get to that because, you know, Ahsoka going forward, George Lucas era into Disney faux lore, it still doesn't make sense, right? It still does not make sense. So, but we're talking about New Jedi Order. But I wanted to speak about Thrawn, and I wanted to speak about everything leading up to it, for Luke's sake, and where he is at forming this New Jedi Order, going into the New Jedi Order era. So we have, you know, we have the Jedi Academy, where that he begins his resurrection, I guess you can say, or rebuilding. It's not really a resurrection, but it's a rebuild of a new order, which was prophesized by Yoda in the Revenge of the Sith novelization. And, you know, Yoda, and I like I said, I wish I would have had time to prepare clips, because it would have been fun playing what Yoda was saying here on Caf Chat, what Yoda was saying about Luke and even Leia, about how Luke is going to create a new order. So basically, he's going to change things. It's not going to be what we've seen with the PT and their mistakes, the PT Jedi and some of their mistakes. And we know that Luke changed things without knowing. He changed things. You know, he still contemplated about Jedi marrying when him and Mara were on their mission and stuff in Survivor's Quest. So it wasn't like he was like, oh, this is why my father fell, so I need to change this. No. There were still some things that were not covered, that were destroyed by Palpatine, that Luke, you know, didn't know about. So changing things unknowingly too, as well as changing things knowingly. But there's a lot that remain the same. So he recreated the New Jedi Order, and it was an academy. It was very small. We have the stories with the Jedi Academy, also the games and all that lore, amazing stuff. And then going in with the Rogue Squadron, because the Rogue Squadron plays a big has a big place in New Jedi Order as well. So we have we have Luke and Wedge, who are basically the founding fathers of the Rogue Squadron. And I did share a big, huge drop of Rogue Squadron history on X a few days ago. And so we have Wedge and Tycho coming back. At the time, it is Gavin Darklighter who is in command, rogue leader, in command of the rogues. And in the first few books, we have Wedge and Tycho coming back as voices for Gavin and support behind the scenes in a sense. But we know that in the New Jedi Order, they do take command again, or help take command. They get honorable placings, I guess you could say, and help with Rogue Squadron and help with the fight. And there's some great feats that happen with Wedge and stuff like that in New Jedi Order. And they also form a resistance against the new Republic at the time. And I did share a short about that. And so there's a lot of things going on that leads into the New Jedi Order that is a continuity tie-in. You also have tie-ins with Brian Daley's solo adventures. And going back in the historical timeline of Star Wars. And then you do have Jaina, who becomes a rogue squadron pilot, but then also takes over on twin sons for her uncle. So Luke forms a new squadron in honor of Tatooine, which is basically I would say maybe destroyed or whatever by the Vong. So in memory of his home planet, he creates the twin sons squadron. And I'm not drinking from that mug I usually do for Caf Chat. I'm drinking from my Asajj Ventress painting mug. Yeah, Stackpole does great job with the Rogue Squadron space battles versus the Vong, and so does Alston. So those two, they tied so well together in their synergy with writing the Rogues and other squadrons as well. Yeah, and then you go into so we mentioned the Jedi Academy. And, there's other things like, the Crystal Star, which is one of those things that people are like, that's a huge miss in the timeline. And another tie-in is like, basically you have Rogue Planet, you have Outbound Flight, which is another tie-in. There's so many friggin' tie-ins for the New Jedi Order era in the continuity. I need to sit down and start writing them down. I don't write them down. I just remember them as I read. It is great. I want to do that. So Star Wars Scranton's purists, or Star Wars Scranton and Star Wars Marvel purists who are also reading, or rereading, or reading for the first time, start writing down if you haven't already. Even Darth Paz, anybody who else is rereading and following along, start writing down the continuity tie-ins. Find and then write down where the source comes from, that tie-in, whether it's a character, well, it's a story plot, all of it. Start writing those down. Yes, granted, I see that your first time, and I correct myself on that. Start writing those down. There's so many wonderful tie-ins to that. There's this synergy is amazing. All right, so I'm going down the timeline leading into the New Jedi Order era. So you have the Blackfeet crisis, where Luke, he's still learning about his strength in the Force. And I forgot to mention Dark Empire. Now, Dark Empire is where Luke makes his huge mistake of thinking that he's going to go in because, his training was quick, even though it happened over a concession of time in the OT. It was still quick in a sense that they prepared him to fight against the dark side, against, Vader and the Emperor. But he didn't get the formal training that a Jedi would. He got unconventional training. And so he's still discovering himself as a Jedi. What abilities are good for the Jedi? What abilities aren't? What can lead one to the dark side if they stay on that type of path? And what is in synergy? I'm using the word synergy today. That's the word of the day, everybody, synergy. But what is a light side abilities and what keeps you in the light side? All of this. And he wanted to go and infiltrate and learn about the dark side so he can understand more about it, so that when he teaches, he could recognize. And I don't think anybody can recognize someone particularly turning dark in a sense, because we're going into Jason Solo here, and his turn and stuff like that, and how Luke was exiled. And this is after the New Jedi Order, I know, but him going into exile because he failed to see Jason's turn. And I think because of all this, and it kind of keeps the Force a mystery in a sense, because we don't want to learn everything about the Force, like the good, the dark side, the light side, all this other stuff. And so keeping some things vague and stuff like that keeps the mystery. So he goes in and tries to learn more about the dark side and defeats the clone Palpatine. And we're going to talk more about this here pretty soon. I'm telling you, I didn't plan everything to line up the way they are with cringe factor and stuff like that. And, and we know what happens there. We know that Leia had to step in, and she actually got to use a little bit of the training that Luke gave her to help Luke out and help defeat. There's a lot of storyline that is inside the Dark Empire story that really gives the Skywalker twins a sense of like being their father's kids, a part of the prophecy, even though they're not of the prophecy like Anakin is. But it lends to the strength of who they are, their legacy. But in the end, who defeats Palpatine's clone? It's Han. It's really Han. It's not Leia. It's not Luke. It's Han. So anyways, going forward. And we know Han has a huge significance in New Jedi Order. We know he goes through a lot of shit during that time. And we covered that on Star Wars Marble Pierce's channel when we talked about Vector Prime. And I know some people are like, well, I really didn't like the New Jedi Order because they killed off Chewie. Well, that's just one fucking story out of 19 books. There's a lot going on. It's not just about Chewie. It's not just about Han mourning. There's a lot going on. It is a dark story. And I heard people talk about the New Jedi Order being dark, that they didn't like it because everything's changed in a sense of like who the villain is and how the galaxy has to deal with this new threat. And how do they deal with this threat they don't even know about with these abilities and using bioweapons and biotechnology and bio lifestyle? It's a new threat who comes in and doesn't give a shit about the worlds and the species they encounter. And they will rather destroy than have peace with them. How do you deal with something like that? Okay. And then I don't remember, but I think there is like continuity tie-ins with the Corellian trilogy. I can't wait to rediscover that because I am rereading the series, the New Jedi Order series. So you have the Corellian trilogy. Who here has read the Corellian trilogy? We get the introduction more into the Corellian system and all of that, what's going on during that timeline, and the what's that super weapon again for that holds the Corellian system together? Shit, why am I drawing a fucking blank on that? But anyway, and then you have the Zahn duology. And that sets up, the return of Thrawn in a sense. And that is the Hand of Thrawn duology. And it goes a little bit into what we're going to get into with the New Jedi Order, the unknown threats from the outer rim, the unknown territories, basically. And so we're starting to see the stories being set up. And Luke, throughout this whole timeline, he is, like I said, he goes into where he needs help, with certain things. He's discovering who he is as a Jedi, as a master, how he was tainted with what he thought he went in as a learning experience in Dark Empire, how that mingle with the dark side has tainted him. And of course, everything that he goes through within the timeline is lessons. But then also still puts questions in his mind as like, okay, so the direction I'm taking the Jedi, am I doing the right things? Are these the right choices? And we do see that even in Survivor's Quest, when he talks with Mara Jade, when they go to outbound flights, the discovery of where the outbound flight crashed, all of that. And we get to learn more about the Chiss. Luke, Mara is I guess you could say, on her crossroad on being invited to be a part of the Hand of Thrawn and their missions and their purposes and stuff, and toying with that decision still, because her comfort zone was under the Empire, right? That was her comfort zone because she was raised basically by Palpatine. Crazy, right? And hers is another story that was well written in a sense, because there's a lot of secrets that Palpatine kept, and that was his hands as well. Like Mara Jade is one of the Emperor's hands. So that's another thing too. And so we have the Survivor's Quest that leads into the new Jedi Order. So Luke experiences a lot with creating the Jedi, building them back up from the Purge. Himself as a knight and master. And he's not a Grand Master yet. He doesn't become a Grand Master until the Darkness trilogy. Hi, Darmit. How you doing? Happy New Year to you. Now, I haven't been reading your guys' comments here, so I'm going to get into that here pretty soon. So I want to know, because, again, we're getting into the new Jedi Order. We're leading into that now. What is your favorite moments of Luke leading into New Jedi Order? Not in New Jedi Order, but leading into New Jedi Order. And, I'm going to say stay out of the movie thing, because we're beginning right after Return of the Jedi. So what are your favorite moments? It could be one of his failures where he needed help, where there's self-discovery. It could be a triumphant one. But what are your favorite moments with Luke? And I'm going to ask it about the others too, but I want to start with Luke first. I've read the Hand of Thrawn, but not Corellian Trilogy. Yeah, a Corellian Trilogy is really a good, fun one to read. Let's see, they can't be bargained with, and I don't know what that is. In New Jedi Order, Chewie died as a hero, and his legacy was more than alive. On the other hand, the Disney canon has he's still alive, but his legacy is dead and buried. Yeah, there's that contrast right there. And I have seen, and I think Lucasfilm has admitted that one of the reasons they tossed the EU aside is because they wanted JJ wanted Chewie alive for the Disney trilogy. So I'm going to hopefully by next week, I'll have that up for you guys, pulled that quote up for you guys from Lucasfilm under Disney. And so that's one of the reasons, because it didn't tie in, Chewie's death didn't tie in with what they wanted for their trilogy. And let's see here. Centerpoint State. There you go. Thank you so much. I was like, I can't think of that fucking name. Why can't I? And I always talk about it. They can't be bargained with. And excuse me, we do have the birth of the Solo kids happening within the timeline before the new Jedi Order era. We have Jaina and Jason that were born during the Thrawn trilogy. And then during the Dark Empire, we have Anakin Solo. So leading up to that, they grow up under a family that are basically leaders within the galaxy. Whether it's their uncle who is a Jedi Master rebuilding the Order, or their mom who helped rebuild the Republic, or their dad who goes from this smuggler, you know, all he cares about is himself, to a family man, a supporter, a general, and someone who is a representative under the Republic and called upon whenever needed for certain missions. So you have this wide range of family, you know, leadership born into that. But it's not about like how Disney says it is, like, oh, you know, it's about, you know, how do they word it? Because they say bloodline, but bloodline in a sense of like significant bloodline. And we all know that their families, every single one of them, started from nowhere, came out of nowhere. And Luke himself came out of nowhere. Leia was lucky enough for Belle saying that him and his wife, they couldn't conceive and they've been wanting to adopt a girl, that she was taken. But again, she is comprised under her mom's legacy of, you know, stepping up as a leader and stuff like that. But then you have Han, who basically his backstory is that he did come from a significant family, but somehow that family lineage was destroyed, and he was basically found on the streets as a very small kid and raised, you know, under a smuggler's life, I guess you could say. So that's very interesting in itself, because he grew up not knowing anything about his family. And once he learned from the worst ever Thraken Solo. And he, you know, and so those don't know who this character is. Oh my God, just you got to look him up. Go back and Solo. So if you haven't read Han Solo trilogy, and this is the AC Crispin version, who keeps continuity with Brian Daly's stuff, you're going to learn more about Thraken Solo. And he is not a good man. Not a good man. And then you'll get into the Corellian trilogy with his story even more. And then as you go along in the timeline, then you'll get into like even Legacy of the Force. And so Thraken Solo shows up throughout the historical timeline as well. Let's see here what you guys are saying. It's the duology where Luke and Mara fall in love. Yeah, that's where they realize how they're destined to be with each other and stuff. Yes. The Denning haters hate the Darkness trilogy. Oh my God. Yes, I encountered them. And the Darkness trilogy is still a part of the New Jedi Order. It is the end of the New Jedi Order. So in the New Jedi Order timeline, that is the ending of the New Jedi Order timeline. It's the beginning of Legacy is basically betrayal. So this right here, the trilogy, is the end of that. So we get to see there's this huge, not a huge gap, but there's huge timeline, like 10 years or so, or 7 years, where nothing is written from the last of the New Jedi Order series and the beginning of the Darkness trilogy, where Jason goes on his sabbatical. Now I'm skipping way ahead of time, but we're talking just timeline in general to give you guys kind of a glimpse into what we're getting into, right? And I think I'll follow up with the New Jedi Order era with Darkness trilogy, because that is the end of it, leading into Legacy. And we get Jason going in a sabbatical, but there's nothing written there. So that's a free, like, there's nothing written there. We don't know exactly what happened to Jason, but Jason leaves to go on his sabbatical, still questioning himself, still questioning himself in the Force, still questioning the Jedi in the Force, So even though he was pinned as this great hero during that time, there was still a lot of shit that was going a lot like in his head. The torture, the manipulation from Vergere, the questioning of the Force, the Jedi, who he is in all of this. And Luke reluctantly lets him go. Like, if you need to do this, which basically we see begins as a regret in the Darkness trilogy, because there's things that he learned that are questionable, that are from society, for societies that basically are considered dark side users. All of that. So we get this hero, rightfully so, Jason, who is a significant player in the New Jedi Order. And but it is tainted by a lot what he's gone through. He's still a young man. He still has his whole life ahead of him during all this time, the torture, the manipulation, the loss of his brother, all of this. So of course he's not gonna fare well. You know, no one can. He's not this perfect being that people think that he said. Like, people think that he's set up to be in this perfect Force majestic guy in the New Jedi Order. Oh, fuck no, he's not. Let's see here. Yes, he's a prick. Let me see here. Well, Han wasn't actually the king. His ancestors was executed for taking. No, actually, his ancestors were the beginning of the diktats and the kings of Corellia. So basically, so yeah, so he comes from that lineage. So yeah. So when C-3PO was trying to present that was fake. He actually is from that lineage. So yeah. So read the Han Solo trilogy. It will make sense and tie up Corellia trilogy. Yeah, you are missing something. You got to read the Han Solo trilogy. Let's see here. And this is let's see here. I have 62 people watching. Thank you guys so much. Hit that like button. Let's see here. And let's see here. Yeah, he's a prick in Legacy too. Let's see here. I still say Tachum got what she deserved in Darkness. Oh, that was fucking crazy. I'm not giving any spoilers, but that was fucking crazy. I agree wholeheartedly about that. At the wedding, C-3PO is going to reveal that Han isn't the king of Corellia. Well, he's not the king, but his ancestors were. The very first diktat or king was a Solo, and that's his lineage. Yeah, but Luke locks up the room. Yeah, because even that would make him look bad. No matter what, even if it's false, it would still make him look bad. So read the Han Solo trilogy. Yeah. Let's see here. Gotcha. Yeah. Let's see here. His hero's journey begins to spiral. That's okay. That is okay. But I can't wait till you read the Han Solo trilogy. All right. You're fired, Scron. You're fired. All right. All right. So getting back, we got to segue into our, I have two cringe factor topics that kind of tie in together in a sense. Like I said, I didn't plan this, but I thought it was very interesting. And you guys, I don't have the camera on, but right now I have Darth Toby laying against me. You know, he's always making his appearance somehow here on Caf Chat. Kicking off the new year with some Darth Toby energy next to me. He's sound asleep, curled up, enjoying the talk. So he approves of this all. There you go. See, there's a lot. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to discover. That's why it's so fun to see someone new to the EU or fairly new or rereading or reading and going through the timeline. It is such a fun thing to see with the new discoveries and thinking, oh, this happened this way, but then reading back in time, you're like, oh shit. Okay, I get it now. So there's a lot of that fun discovery, and it's like reliving Star Wars through you, Scran, and it's amazing. I love it. I love it. I'll stick to Shatterpoint and the Pierce favorite EU novel. I like it more than Matt Wilkins likes I, Jedi. Oh God, he fucking hates that novel. He doesn't like Corn Horn whatsoever. Yeah. So with that being said, so I asked you guys about your favorite moment with Luke Skywalker in the timeline leading up to New Jedi Order. And I'm going to go ahead and now throw out Han and throw out Leia's. What's your favorite with theirs in the timeline? I'm going to take a picture of Darth Toby and I'm going to share it on Twitter because he's right next to me and he's just enjoying himself in blissful sleep. All right. All right. So, New Jedi Order. Next week, I am going to bust out the source book. And we will talk about Vector Prime in the beginning, but I also want to talk behind the scenes as well as most of the campaigns leading up to, I won't go far, and I don't want to lead up to Star by Star yet. So I'm going to do some of the main campaigns in the beginning. So, of course, you know me, I'm a fucking nerd. And so I will have your PowerPoints, visuals, and everything up for you guys like I usually do. And we'll get into that. So, Vector Prime, some of the campaigns leading into that, and some about behind the scenes. Because I think it's very important that we not only talk about just the series itself or the era, the continuity tie-ins, of course, but behind the scenes is something that needs to be talked about as well. And some of the campaigns within the beginning of the series. Campaigns, what are those? Meaning the stage points of where the Vong began and where they defeated and begin to defeat planets, making their way towards the core. And yes, Soul Assassin has a big research to do here to keep up on this. I'm going to bust out gets guys' attention. A source book breaks dudes. Yeah. Yeah. But Soul Assassin, this, like I was saying, his strong point is Old Republic. His weak point is post Return of the Jedi stuff. So he has a lot to look into, research, and get into as well. So let's see here. I thought it was awesome to make the connection in the Jedi Mace Windu comic to Padme's line in the yes, that is. And I remember talking about that maybe 2 years ago. I never knew that previously. Yeah. Let's see here. Thraken Sal Solo, Jake Skywalker, and Leia 2. Someone doesn't like Thraken Sal Solo. So you think that Han is the Thraken Sal Solo of the Disney trilogy? They're downplaying Thraken Sal Solo so badly with how they portrayed Han in the Disney trilogy. So it's given, yes, and you guys do too. You know me. I like to have you keep on top of your game with me. And if I'm corrected, then I'm corrected. If, and stuff, it's the exchange of knowledge. And it's a beautiful thing. And it's also the encouragement of looking more into stuff, right? Because that's how you learn, you grow, and you get strong in the areas that you love, right? And that's including George Lucas' era of Star Wars. So Soul Assassins is OG and New Jedi Order and New Jedi Order nerd. Is this how I sound when I talk Old Republic? I might have to go on a New Jedi Order sabbatical. Yes, you do, my mod. I already have one mod that is rereading. And so I have another that's discovering. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And for those of you guys in here, listening here on YouTube and Twitter X, if you've read New Jedi Order, I invite you to reread starting now if you have time or what have you. Or if you read the New Jedi Order series, then feel free to go to the Audibles and just re-listen to them. However, if you're new to the New Jedi Order, read. Don't go to the Audibles, because those are so plot heavy that there's a lot of things that taken out, and some things are rearranged that I've discovered. That's not going to do you any justice to know the depth of the story that's needed to be known. So I'm inviting you guys to read or reread or re-listen to the New Jedi Order. Not necessary to follow along, but that's just, I'm encouraging you to pick up these books as we begin to talk. Professor says, say what you will about Thraken, he at least gets a fitting end. Oh, yes. Yes, it is. And Han gets a fitting revenge against him, right? Yeah, what's up with Star Wars, with that Star Wars Scran? I don't know what you're talking about here. Oh, yeah. Always getting homework? Yeah. So Sasson, do well, and you can also be a know-it-all. Hey, that's me. I'm the know-it-all. Okay, so with that being said, we're beginning. It begins here today. So next Thursday, stay tuned. We're going to get more into the New Jedi Order. And so stay tuned for the fun. But now we're going to get into Cringe Factor. So if you need to fill up your beverages, get a snack, what have you, feel free to do that. And I'm going to play this again. It's just worth it. So I'm going to play a commercial, and then I'm going to play our segue into Cringe Factor.
I had fought the worst of all wars and witnessed the redemption of evil. I have seen balance restored to the Force. But order can turn to chaos, as it did when I was born. Now, with my loved ones and my loyal allies, I face a new challenge unlike any before. And I'm not sure at this time we can win.
Star Wars Vector Prime by R.A. Salvatore, the first novel of the new Jedi Order.
Oh, that was weird. We're going to get into Cringe Factor. I just rearranged these. Here we go. Play. Ah, froze. No. Play. It doesn't want me to play.
So uncivilized.
Right. So that was a crazy, like, it wasn't playing for me. It froze. I don't know if it froze on your end, but that's okay. So shit happens, right? Shit happens, and we just move with it. And there's something I wanted to share. So between these two articles, I'm going to share something. We're going to talk about that. So we may go over time a little bit, but that's okay. So here we go. So this is what's on the thumbnail of this stream. And this is by Molly Brazil. I don't think Star Wars' most tragic story belongs to Anakin Skywalker or Obi-Wan Kenobi, but they're still a major part of it. So what do you think? The tragedy, the Star Wars story is Anakin's tragedy, Anakin's story. But she thinks, this Molly thinks, that the most tragic story does not belong to Anakin Star Wars Skywalker. Star Wars. Anakin Star Wars. Well, he is Star Wars in a sense. So we're going to get into this. Hey, grumpy old ninja, how you doing? Oren Gold. Oh my God. I have to agree with this title. The most tragic story belongs to the franchise itself. We're talking about the story, not what happened to the franchise. Anakin Star Wars. I know. I can't believe I said that. That's funny. Cringe factor 10. So we're going to get into this here. What do you think it is? What do you think that she's alluding to on who has the most tragic story? You can say a little bit it's Luke and Leia, but they're the product of Anakin's tragedy, right? So in a sense, it's not. So I only read bits and pieces of this article. So you're going to get a kind of like a authentic response from me. The Star Wars franchise is full of tragic stories, famously for those of Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Well, Obi-Wan's story is affected by Anakin's tragedy. So it's about Anakin, and everybody else is like part of the puzzle to that tragedy, right? But its most tragic belongs to characters who were an essential part of those two Jedi story. Tragedy is a key part of Star Wars prequel trilogy. Yeah, it's the Greek tragedy, and that Greek tragedy mythology goes towards is written about Anakin. Everybody else plays a role in it and is affected by that, but the overall tragedy, the mythos, is about Anakin Skywalker. A story that details how one of the galaxy's greatest heroes falls to the dark side and becomes Darth Vader. Because of this, many characters were caught in the crossfire, making a devastating time period for the galaxy as a whole. And again, she kind of alludes to what I said, whatever, that everything that happens is the result of Anakin's tragedy, his fall. They are all just one little piece to the puzzle of that. There was, however, one group in particular that was perhaps the most caught between the Galactic Republic and the Galactic Empire. These characters were quite literally created for the devastation that would result from the fall of the Republic, while unknowingly contributing to its fall in the process. They were forced to serve a system that would end up spitting them back out anyways. So who do you think she's talking about? I know who she's talking about, but this right here, we'll go back to this. I think I'll try to keep it highlighted. And had no choice in executing one of the deadliest purges in the galaxy's history. These were the men that Anakin and Obi-Wan command during the Clone Wars. So she's talking about the clones. So they weren't forced to do anything. They were made to do it. And they were made to willfully do it. They weren't forced to do anything. Now, the inhibitor chip is full of fucking shit. Especially when you get the sense of them being genetically altered to be compliant and obey. And we talked about this earlier, but they were trained by Mandalorians, who were the leading anti-Jedi enforcers, I guess you could say. Because of their history with the Jedi, that group of people, that culture, strived to find ways to defeat the Jedi. Now, who would be perfect to train these elite genetic clone army? The Mandalorians, right? Because they hated the Jedi. Because they know how to fight against them and defeat them. There's more substance to this than the fucking chip, right? There's more substance to the story when you have these group of people created from Jango Fett's genetics that were altered to be compliant, to obey, to want to do this mission under no circumstances, really. And then we're trained by the elite of the Mandos that were brought in, right? Who are known as Jedi killers. There's a lot of depth in that. Take that all away and just insert a chip. Makes the story so cheap and fucking generic. Do you see the difference now with what was created versus the chip? I'm gonna see what you guys are saying in here already. I'm like barely into these here. I hate that whenever I start reading Screen Rant, and sometimes like the StreamYards doesn't want me to click on ship. I had to deal with Disney Shield, who wanted to take down Gatekeepers Alliance, and that will not happen because I will stop from happening in Tim comment section from the United Spacers Alliance. Thank you so much. Yeah, they're in for it. They're in for a battle. Dave Filoni, the self-appointed apprentice and known wolf sexual. The cut. The Labyrinth of Evil, Jango is referred to as a Mandalorian template. Yes. Exactly. His microbrain. Yep. Let's see here. Omega. Let's see here. Really shows how well funded the Sith were. Yeah. Exactly. And that goes back to Plagueis and stuff too. So we have all that synergy. Again, the word of the day, synergy. Synergetic stuff. Damask Holdings. There you go. Koi Vardar. Vardar. Yep. There you go. Anyone who has played Battlefront 2 knows the chip story sucks. It does. The clone troopers are just Mandalorians in white armor. The Battlefront 2 story was awesome and had the clones know they had to kill them. Correct. And yeah, we all know this. So getting back into this here, make sure I'm on the right one. So of course, they're playing into the part of the Clone Wars that really goes, and even, was it the Bad Batch or whatever it's called? That really tries to make these clones more tragic than they really are. Yes, they're tragic, but they are a device. They are a device, and they were made that way. And even reading into the extent the lore, I guess you can say, behind the Mandalorians. They realize, like, especially the Knolls, because the Knolls, those who really defected is what I'm trying to say. Those who were really defected, particularly the Knolls and some of the ARC troopers, because they weren't as manipulated, genetically formed as the regular troopers. So you have different versions, rightfully so, because you have to have a little bit of free will, I guess you could say, for some of the leaders of these troopers here. So, we have the ones that deflected from the services and taken under Cal to Mandalore and protected, going into hiding. And then you have the common trooper who was significantly altered. and so those are the ones that they're trying to make look like they had free will now with this chip. And this is what this image is about. And I think it's so fucking stupid. Again, it takes away, when that chip takes away all the depth in the story, so that the chip, the chip is okay. I'm just gonna read this and go on. From far before their creation through all their deaths, there's no doubt that the clones have the most tragic story of all in all of Star Wars. What do you guys think of this? Do you think their story is really more tragic than Anakin's? They are a plot device. Well, I want to say they're a plot device, but they're a tool devised in Palpatine's plan, because he knew that the Jedi would not serve alongside robots. He knew that they would also fight against robots because they're not sentient species. And he also knew that the Jedi would see clones as kind of like a blasphemy because they're not true to the Force and nature, I guess you could say. But I'm getting really deep into the lore here. These are men who were bred for war, a war that wasn't even their own. No war is when you're actually no, I'm gonna go back. I'm not gonna think that in that train of thought because it wouldn't make sense. Their clones are from Jango. Jango and the Mandalorians are anti-Jedi, anti-Republic. So in a sense, this war, they were made for this war in every single way because of who Jango Fett is. What happened to the Mandalorians when it came to the Republic, when it came to the Jedi. So genetically, they were predispositioned for this war by who was picked, who won this place to be cloned, to work alongside the Sith to create this army. So this woman, Molly, I don't think she knows much about the lore to understand who Jango Fett is, why he was chosen, or how he was chosen, and how he brought in trainers, the Mandalorians, to train these soldiers, these people, I guess you could say, these clones, basically. And what, where they came from genetically. All anti-Republic, all anti-Jedi stuff there. So yes, they were fighting a war that would make sense for them. They were basically born for this. All right. Thankfully, these Jedi generals, at least most of them, treated their men well and respected their identities the clones established for themselves. And that's another thing. Is even George was saying that these clones were, and it's this is in the Star Wars Archives episodes 1 through 3, Attack of the Clones selection, or no, it was Revenge of the Sith portion of the archives, where George Lucas said that they really didn't have free will. They really didn't have individuality, in a sense. Now, the ones that did have more individuality are the Knolls and some of the Arcs, like the Arcs, because they weren't as genetically manipulated. So making this chip and all the clones equal to even the superiors, the Knolls and the Arcs, does not make sense whatsoever. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. Woo, you guys are bouncing in here. Okay, bouncing. You guys are bouncing. No, I don't want you guys to bounce, but you guys are really getting it in the chat. I almost swear, Star Wars Scran, we got it. More talent to go right. Real EU Star Wars. There are far too many people with real talent for Star Wars and all our favorite stories to stay this screwed. All right, let me see. So that was just Scran. I just read that, but that's okay. It's explained in Attack of Clones. No other source is needed, right? If they had a chip, why did Palpatine call them and the commanders give the order? I know. Complexity in story is like technology. You need the storytellers, fans who can grasp it, comprehend, and explain it. If the story complexity exceeds the teller's capacity, the tellers become repeaters. Right. All right. Molly is nothing but a explain clickbait. All right. So you guys are, let's see here. I'm just like randomly clicking here now. Hell yeah, we're bouncing. 7 out of 10. Pow, pow, pow. Yes. We are bouncing. I have officially joined the Gatekeepers Alliance. Woohoo! Congratulations. Okay, let's see here. TCW keeps humanizing the clones to be regular people who wanted to live outside the war. And that's what makes the story less tragic, I get, in a sense. But still, the tragedy of the clones is nothing compared to the tragedy of Anakin. That has to be, they're part of the tragedy, part of the reason, or part of how the Republic fell and the tools to how the Republic fell. All right. Let's go back. All right. So with this being said, I'm not going to get into the inhibitor chip and all this here. I just wanted to read into some of this right here. She just tries to solidify even more about why these clones were more tragic than Anakin and even Obi-Wan. And I have to disagree. So I already said what I needed to say about this one here. And agreed clickbait. Well, Screen Rant is that. And Screen Rant, and there's others, quote unquote, pop culture news sources that contribute to cringe factor. You know, so there we have that. Now we're going to go into the clock. A broke clock is correct twice, right? And so this is going to be fun here. I am going to pull up another one from Screen Rant. Remember my quote, a broke clock is correct twice. And so we're going to get into something where Screen Rant is correct about cloning when it comes to Dark Empire versus the rise of Palpatine. So let's get into that. Yes, I'm not shitting you guys. This is going to be fun. It's kind of like, okay, but does it mean that I like Screen Rant? No, but I'm just going to bring this here because I think it's quite funny with this. So here we go. Star Wars Emperor Palpatine's legacy comeback made the movies look bad, and here's 10 reasons why. The movies. So they're talking about particularly the rise of Palpatine, you know, the Disney trilogy. And this is by Spencer Conley. This is published one day ago. So we're going to get into this. And I'm just going to read this first paragraph here. I think this is the only one here. No, I'll read that and we'll get into that. Emperor Palpatine famously returned from the grave in Star Wars films, giving life to iconically cringeworthy line of dialogue. Somehow, Palpatine returned. While the live-action animated and canon comic books are so Disney, lower comic books series have made strides to explain how Palpatine came back to life. The fact that it wasn't fully explained when it happened in The Rise of Palpatine already makes it inferior to the original version of what that very same story in Star Wars EU. So Star Wars EU Dark Empire trilogy was, well, it's more than just a trilogy, but yeah, I get it. Direction following the events of Return of the Jedi, and for the most part, it's pretty much the same as what fans are see in The Rise of Palpatine, destroyed in the second Death Star. So here we go. So here's this comic here. Emperor Palpatine's spirit was guided back to life by other long death Sith. So we have that. So I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with Dark Empire comics. We talked about it earlier today in the stream here. So we have this Emperor of the Numberless Worlds. Lord Vader's throne still remains empty. Have you now come to take his place and join us? And he says, no. And this is Palpatine. No, not that. Your spirit guides me back to this life when I was destroyed by Vader and by his children. My aging clone bodies will soon die. I need healing now. And then the doomed flesh you wear has yielded to necrosis. This clone body cannot be saved. Come, join us, enter the world of darkness beyond all dying. So let's get into this. So to actually explain the process of Palpatine's resurrection. Number 9, Star Wars Legends didn't have a pointless Snoke fake out. Woo! Emperor Palpatine is the main villain right from the start of his resurrection. And also, I'm going to add this. It happened how many years? About 9 years, or no, 5 years after Return of the Jedi. Emperor Palpatine is the main villain right from the start. So here we go. We have here, you, somehow I knew it, but I saw you die. Yes, you know, didn't you? You've grown very strong in the Force since we last met. But then so have I. So in the Star Wars trilogy, the Disney trilogy, wasn't revealed as the main villain until the 3rd movie. In the previous 2, Supreme Leader Snoke was the overarching villain, an interesting aspect of the Disney trilogy, until it was revealed that Snoke was just Palpatine the whole time. So he was the puppet. In Dark Empire, Palpatine didn't hide behind a clone altered ego. He presented himself as the main villain right from the start. This detail allowed Star Wars Legends to Star Wars EU to actually craft a story surrounding Palpatine's resurrection, delved into the necromancy practices of the Sith in much greater detail, and didn't leave fans wanting more when Palpatine was ultimately defeated. Number 8, Star Wars EU gave Palpatine a younger, battle-ready body. The Emperor Palpatine got a new look with exciting storytelling potential. So here we go. Just imagine fighting a naked Palpatine. That I always laughed about. When Palpatine came back in the right, even more feeble than he was in the original trilogy. When fans know now that Palpatine was more than capable of a lightsaber combat at the time, that wasn't immediately apparent in those films, as Palpatine didn't do anything except sit on his throne, and he was basically on like life support as well. That was fucking crazy. Shooting Force lightning, and in The Rise of Palpatine, that basically all Palpatine did. Yeah, that's all that he did. In Dark Empire, Palpatine didn't just inhabit. That was basically an exception, or except copy of his Return of the Jedi form. He got a younger, battle-ready body. I'm going to play this real quick here. I am going to play this. This needs to be shown again.
Are you sure?
So imagine that. You know, people, a lot of these anti-EU fans used Dark Empire as a way of mocking why the EU was bad or tossed. And then they get the rise of Palpatine. They got a very dumbed down version of Palpatine's return to where he was old and feeble, stuck on life support in a very decrepit cloned body, where in Dark Empire he had a plan. He had clones ready for him so that he was always ready, because his essence, the dark side essence, aged these bodies quick. So he was prepared for that. But he was also battle ready. He was also ready to fight and very good at it. Very, very good at it. And let's see here. So let me go back to that article because I'm looking at the screen and the chats. Number 7, Star Wars Legends allowed Leia to prove herself as a Jedi against Palpatine. Emperor Palpatine regarded Leia as a Jedi and even commended her skills. So here she is. Now we're leaving, or we're taking Luke with us. So she's standing against him. Brave little Jedi. But really, such an old lightsaber is not worth a worthy weapon for you. So there we go. So basically, Leia was never a part of the rise of Palpatine. She was dead by then. Totally ignored. She gave up Jedi training, even though they tried to retcon that in a sense to where she trained Rey for a year, which we knew Rey didn't really need training whatsoever. So none of this story made sense with the timeline for Disney trilogy, because the trilogy happened from 34 ABY to 35 ABY. So within 2 years, but then they try to shoehorn that she trained Rey for a whole year, that everything happened within 2 years, which doesn't make sense, even though Leia frowned upon being a Jedi and gave up being a Jedi and didn't finish her training to let alone train someone else. Whereas here, by the time we get to Dark Empire, she's already had some training from Luke. He already gifted her with a lightsaber to use. And she's over here in her legacy, sticking up for her brother, wanting to defend her brother, and standing up against the cloned emperor. You know, I'm not reading this. I'm just going off of like what I see and stuff like that, which I think is better verbiage. So number 6, Star Wars Legends, or Star Wars EU gave Palpatine a much more fitting host than Rey. Emperor Palpatine's nearly possessed Leia's younger son, Anakin. So yeah, I'm not going to read the bottom. I'm just going to give what I know. So in the Rise of Palpatine in the Disney trilogy, he wanted to possess Rey. That's his daughter. They say it's his granddaughter, but no. His clone and his clone's wife had Rey. So basically that genetically would be still his daughter, not granddaughter. Because the clones, he's not the father of the clones in a sense. They're trying to go with a Boba Fett, Jango Fett relationship. But in reality, that would still be his daughter. So he was trying to possess her body. And in Dark Empire, he was trying to go for Anakin Solo. So here we go. In EU, Palpatine seeks Leia's newborn son, Anakin, to take over the infant's body. This idea is much more full circle than what fans got in the Disney faux lore, especially if it's true that Palpatine used the Force to create Anakin Skywalker, which is not true. That's not what happened, for the sole purpose of inhabiting his body before his injuries. I don't know where she got that from, but that's not true. So he now has the chance to do it again with a new Anakin. This is a chance to, this is the classic example of rhyme in Star Wars storytelling, making Anakin as much more fitting host than the faux lore Rey. Number 5, Star Wars EU made Palpatine a more personal villain for Luke Skywalker. Emperor Palpatine actually corrupted Luke Skywalker, making them greater enemies. And I agree. Yes, my father's destiny is my own. So what do you guys think about this? So Emperor Palpatine may have been overarching villain for the 3 Star Wars film trilogy. He was never for the Disney trilogy. That was something that they never had a plan. So you can't say he was the overarching villain for the Disney trilogy. There was no planning. They were making up along the way. But that didn't really feel like the case regarding Luke Skywalker personally. Luke remained enemy to overcome in the OT was his own father, Darth Vader. Let's see here. Who was an incredibly personal villain. And the sequels in the Disney trilogy, Luke didn't even meet Palpatine. Yeah, so that's what I was getting at with, the Disney trilogy. There was no planning, whereas the 6 films under George, there was an overall plan, which, evolved in what we see today. Now, Luke Skywalker is corrupted by Palpatine in the Dark Empire after going undercover as his apprentice. Like I said earlier, Luke wanted to learn more about the dark side so he can understand it and help create a stronger Jedi Order, I guess you could say. Giving the 2 of them an actual relationship with personal stakes, Palpatine was no longer his essential amorphous big bad that Luke Skywalker had to actually no actual connection to. His conflict was Palpatine became personal, making their final confrontation that much more impactful. So yes, so it was much more impactful in the story of Dark Empire versus the rise of Palpatine. Number 4, Star Wars EU, gave fans the lightsaber duel. The fans didn't, the films didn't. So we were over this already, and I shared the clip, so we're going to skip that. Number 3, Star Wars EU gave fans greater insight into Palpatine's mind, and it sure did. Emperor Palpatine was more than the maniacal villain the film portrayed him as. So he goes, "My child, the Emperor, did he?" And so he goes, "I have the Emperor, he's in me." So we have the story here. I am holding him in my body, in my spirit. I'm holding him. His spirit is my prisoner. He is not at all as he seemed. There is tremendous rage in him, yes, but also boundless despair. I am being eaten alive by his darkness. So we had help, like Han, Leia, Luke, all of them had help with getting rid of Palpatine. So this Jedi here, Brand, is the one that took Palpatine and imprisoned his spirit, and eventually he died. So we'll get to this. Number 2, Star Wars Legends made Palpatine's final death. Star Wars EU made Palpatine's final death much more poetic. Emperor Palpatine is killed by a survivor of the Great Jedi Purge. Yep. So if you guys haven't read the story and learned about Bran this guy here, I highly recommend it. So I'm going to read this. More than anything, the Emperor fears obliteration in the dark side. Hold to the light, Brand. Hold to the light. We have won. So basically he is, comforting Brand here and all of this. You think you have won. If I am annihilated, my curse will be upon Skywalker's blood forever. So that's Palpatine speaking through Brand. Luke, Palpatine will die with me. He will never return. The Force and all the Jedi who went before us will make sure of that. goodbye, my friend. So he's trying to scare Luke into like, if I die, I will curse your blood forever, which it really doesn't. And so so it's more, I guess you could say what they're trying to say here is more poetic because it solidifies the Jedi return, right? And the death of this guy who created the purge and overcame through his machinations of, of enslaving the galaxy, ruling the galaxy, all of that. And of course, trying to control the Skywalker bloodline, which was Anakin. He tried to recruit Luke, and then he tried to possess Anakin Solo. So when Palpatine was killed for the final time in the EU, a Jedi named Brand who delivered the final blow. Brand absorbed Palpatine's spirit before it could possess Anakin Solo, and then he allowed himself to die, taking Palpatine with him. And the best part, Brand was a survivor of the Jedi Purge. So there you go. And number 1, Star Wars EU told fans exactly what will happen to Palpatine's spirit after his death. So we get into that. Emperor Palpatine will never return again as his spirit is sent to the Sith hell. Let me see what you guys are saying here. I hate when that. Brand is a true hero of Star Wars. Basically, they sealed him away and never to escape again. Right. He has Papa Palpatine in him. He's in you. Yep. All right, let me get back to the screen here. So I'm going to read the panel. Emperor Palpatine does not relish the prospect of death without reincarnation. The Emperor knows that disembodiment in the dark side is perpetual madness, as if to live forever like an open wound, experiencing terror without respite. That is a fate Palpatine wants to postpone at all costs. Yes, I will put aside thoughts of Rebel Alliance for now. It is time to restore my line of clones to ensure the future of my rule. So basically, we get a glimpse of the choices he make because, the dark side is unnatural, right? And he knows this, and he knows what's in store for him if he doesn't stay in a body. And so there you have it. And in the Disney trilogy, they took so many shortcuts, copying from the Dark Empire. They took so many shortcuts and made the story worse than, what it was. Disney Star Wars is Sith Hell. Disney Wars is Sith Hell. Yeah. And so, like I said, a broken clock is correct twice, right? So once in a while, we'll come across a Screen Rant article that tears into Disney Star Wars in a sense. And I kind of relish this one. I kind of love this one in a sense, not relish, but this amused me. There you go. That's the correct term I'm trying to use. This amused me because not even too long ago, about a week and a half ago, or maybe even sooner, we had some Disney shills trying to say that Dark Empire was bad compared to the Disney stuff. And I'm like, really? Do you not know how horrible they copied Dark Empire? How they made the Emperor this just Muppets of a glob of a villain on life support? When a villain is on such light support that they put Palpatine for the rise of Palpatine, it makes him less threatening. when they have him sitting on this life support throne, only using force lightning, can't even really fight. When you see in the original version in full force, fighting, dueling, Luke Skywalker, who is one of the master duelists, if the best of the Jedi, especially during his time. And then turning Palpatine into a cuck like they did, they destroyed, like people talk about how they destroyed Luke, Han, and Leia. Well, they significantly destroyed Palpatine as a character. Where Dark Empire still keeps the strength and the mastermind of this man we see in the PT, but then Disney completely destroys it to where you can't even, it's like if you're a fan of Disney Star Wars and you like how they did Palpatine, you need to get your fucking head checked. Yeah, I said it straight on that way. Because Dark Empire in itself still shows this manipulative, cunning, tactical, brilliant mastermind. Where Rise of Palpatine, they just made him this jelly of a person, of a villain on life support, just shooting force lightning. And this is like, what, 2 decades after? Or near 2 decades after, where Dark Empire is not even like 5 years after, where he's like getting to the point. He had a strategy, having young clones of himself ensured and other young clones that were never really botched like the Rise of Palpatine showed, because that's how Rey came about, is that a lot of his clones were botched in the Disney trilogy, episode 9. You know, so they made him less of a villain, like less of this tactical mastermind. They really weakened him, unbelievably weakened him, to where when if you look at him in the Disney folklore, it's hard to believe that this cunning, tactical, manipulative man, the Sith, would end up the way he did in the Disney trilogy. Oh my God. Screen Rat amused OG. She might be a little sick from the dance off. No, amused as in this was kind of funny and I kind of enjoyed this, but then also there's irony to it. There's some irony to it, you know, so that kind of amuse. All right. Darth Plagueis would be rolling in his corpse, laughing, knowing his apprentice is using clones to essence himself to one clone to another to keep himself. His master would be disgusted. Yeah. But there again, Palpatine, and we know this from Darth Plagueis novel, Palpatine's ways was not Plagueis's ways. Luke versus Palpatine was a great fight. I simply love seeing Palpatine using the lightsaber. Correct. Now OG has homework. Short video talking about the difference between Disney and EU Palpatine cloning. There you go. He's like, I think I'm going to give my master some training. But here we go. So I just wanted to share this because, like I said, some of the talk here was about clones. Like I said, I wasn't planning this at all. And, you know, like Hand of Thrawn, like I said earlier, Thrawn cloned Soontir Fel. Thrawn was just like Palpatine, but their tactics were different. They wanted the same thing. They wanted to rule. How they got there was different, though. But that's expected. You don't expect someone to be exactly the same when that person's not a Sith. And so in the Hand of Thrawn duology, he cloned. He had his own fortress, which was the Hand of Thrawn. Thrawn wanted to gain rule of the galaxy. We've seen that in Heir to the Empire. He cloned himself. He cloned Suntir Fel's, with the guidance, with the support of Suntir Fel, to create his own army, I guess you can say. So we see cloning as an overarching thing for these villains in a sense, but all done in a significant way and difference. But then when you get to Disney trilogy, it's they even stupid dumb down cloning in itself. And I want to talk about one more topic before we end here. So why not just go a little over time that I normally do? And I'm going to bring this up and then we'll start closing everything out. Okay. So I'm so happy to spend the first Caf Chat with you guys of the year. And let me see here. Is it still up? Yes, it is. Let me go ahead and enlarge this a little. Zoom in a little. All right. So I wanted to share this with you guys. Screen share. All right, that's the one. And here we go. So I wanted to share this with you guys. Let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit more. Come on, work for me. There we go. And I'll just scroll as we go along. So the Star Wars Facts shares, and this was over a day ago. Dave Filoni says he still occasionally calls George Lucas for #Star Wars advice, and Lucas has an open door policy. If he ever wants to make another project, he can come right in. Now we know Dave Filoni always appeals to authority to make himself look significant. Mind you, if he calls him, so what? Because in the end, Bob Iger and Disney themselves stated their relationship with George, and I'll get into this. But I'm going to go ahead and get into more why I'm sharing this here. So J.I. Acup retweets this and says, fully convinced that if George Lucas made another Star Wars movie in the distant future, his biggest defenders would most likely hate it. So he's stirring the pot here, saying George Lucas's defenders. Now, keyword, his biggest defenders. Do you know why I'm referencing this? Because J.I. Acup doesn't see himself as a Lucas defender. AKA, he is a Disney Star Wars defender. So he's trying to mock, stir pot with original fans, saying they would not like the story if George came back and created a story under Disney Lucasfilm. Now let me see what you guys are saying here. A fake man with a fake wife, fully convinced, add that J.I. Acup tweet regenerator. All right, so let me go back to that. This is what I stated. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Nope. All right. So because I'm blocked and we now can fully see what people say, even though you're blocked, I screenshotted it because I was like, I'm going to chime in on this. They don't like it when I chime in on their stuff, their crazy shit like this. That's why I'm blocked. So Filoni doesn't have the say Disney and its CEO does, which was made clear. There is no room for George, what he wants and how he wants it. He'd have to adhere to their ideas. George also made it clear they pushed him away. So this all is from what Iger said since the buyout and what Disney has stated since the buyout. Yes, they had agreed to have George come in for a first year or two to help establish and help them transition as the owners. But they also made it clear, why would they allow the original creator to come in and have full say on the stories when it's no longer his? And that even as a consultant for the remaining first 2 years, as a consultant doesn't mean that they have to listen and adhere to what he says. That is all published and all stated on social media, in Iger's biography book that he written in the Star Wars section of it. There are some quotes that like defending the EU kind of thing. Not that site, but another site that's similar that states that George has always thought or has always had control with everything Lucasfilm, including like the merch, the lore, all of that. And he wants to make it very clear that that's not to George, that he doesn't have this now that Disney is the owner. So I go on to say it is also not in his nature, George's nature. If you ever read up on George, that he can't work with others whom will tell him how to create his story. And that's why he really didn't want, other studios to help fund him or work under other studios or in Hollywood. And that's why he wanted to make sure he bought out Fox Studios for their funding, to help fund him in the beginning. He wanted to make sure that he broke all ties to it that he could, and that any contracts that remain that he still honored. But then again, after those contracts were done, that he basically walked away because he wanted full control of his story and no one else should have say other than, maybe those who worked with him that he hired. However, he still had full control of the story, and what we see today under his 6 films and even the EU is what he had control of and he had say. The fans of his defenders know this about Disney and George. I find it funny how J.I. Acup uses quote unquote Lucas defenders as if it's something bad or wrong. He obviously isn't one. He is a Disney defender. So this is what I brought up last night, and I wanted to bring to light, because only a Disney defender will use this verbiage, biggest defenders, George Lucas defenders, as something bad, to stir the pot, and then also to say, oh, well, they won't like what he would do. Well, first of all, you have to look at the history of it, and if by chance he ever will come in and make another Star Wars show, it wouldn't be his, because he would have to adhere to what Disney wants him to do. It's not in George's nature. That I stated what I did. So there you have it. So I wanted to bring this to light. And share how these people pretend to like all Star Wars and the original stuff, but then we'll use like certain verbiages as a bad, negative thing. And that only shows their true colors, on who they really are. Disney defenders always use George Lucas when it's convenient to them and discard him as every time he contradicts them. Correct. Correct. So I just wanted to bring this to light. And you know when they show their true colors, and this is an example of that. A Disney defender going after George Lucas era of Star Wars fans to say that they wouldn't agree with George Lucas if he was brought back to do a movie. But like I said, George wouldn't, because it wouldn't be his story. Soul Assassin. I like all Star Wars. I like all the Star Wars. I like all the Star Wars. And that's their defense. I like all the Star Wars. Yep. So there we go. So happy New Year to you guys. It's great hanging out with you. And we're looking to have an amazing year. Kicking it off with the new Jedi Order. And I want you guys to think, what was your favorite campaign? We're going to the Vong side of this. What was your favorite campaign from the Vong? And we'll also get into the hero aspect of this, and I'll ask you what was your favorite campaign later. So think about this. What was your favorite campaign regarding the Vong? And what is your favorite campaign or tactical brilliance with the Jedi or with the squadrons, what have you? Something to think about here, because we always talk hero side, right? But there's always something brilliant about a villain. Like we did talk about Palpatine, and we can go for days about favorite tactics and stuff about Palpatine. But I really want you to think about your favorite campaigns or tactics with the Vong. Going to the dark side of this all, right? So next week, we're really going to get into this now. So be prepared. And I highly recommend to get the new Jedi Order source book. You can get that ordered, hopefully in your library before Thursday. And also to begin rereading if you haven't done it already. So Vector Prime, that's the starting point. And boy, is it a crazy ride in. It is a crazy ride in on this shit, and it's going to be fabulous. It's going to be dark. It's going to be emotional in a sense. It's going to make you lose grasp your voice or your breath and stuff, and, worry about what's going to happen with our heroes and new established characters. Who is going to die next? Where the Vong's going to show up next? We're going to get into some of the characters of the Vong, the Yuuzhan Vong. We're going to get into the fall of the New Republic and who they turn into, how they evolve into the Galactic Alliance after. And what happens with that. We're going to get into Palion coming in with finally deciding to stand by the Republic, our Galactic Alliance, after thinking the Vong wasn't really going to target them. And some heroic moments, even with Pelion. Man, this is going to be a good ride. And also the Solo kids, what's going to happen with them? There's so much going on. And the birth of a Skywalker, holy crap, there's so much going on in this series, 19-book series. It's just fucking exciting. Vong, Vong, Vong. Let me see that Vong. Yeah, it's going to be a great time, you guys. So thank you guys again. As always, Happy New Year. You guys are fucking amazing. I enjoy my Caf Chats with you. And of course, there's going to be some lore video outs. They're going to be short, but they're going to be sweet. They're going to be fun. And I do already have something planned for the Rogue Squadron history that I shared on Twitter. And I'm going to make that a video. So stay tuned for that as well. And let's go ahead and switch things up. Let's get into this.
The fate of the galaxy is now in your hands. With the new LEGO Star Wars Slave 1, you can load Captain Solo, arm your weapon systems, man the cockpit, and take off with the most feared ship in the galaxy. But watch out for rebel ships. No matter the enemy, no matter the firepower, you control the action. With the new LEGO Star Wars collection.
Another happy landing.